This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. On March 27th, the Greater Dover Chamber of Commerce hosted the State of the City event. The event focused on the ongoing efforts and successes we've had with our Waterfront project here in the city of Dover. What follows is an audio version of that presentation given by myself, Norm Fracassa, the Waterfront Development Advisory Committee Chair, and representatives from Cathartis and Stages, one of the first restaurants/users of the space. You can watch this on demand off the City of Dover website, but for now, here's the audio.
At the Chamber, we are so fortunate to have sponsor support for our events, and this event in particular, we're greatly appreciative. Our good friends at Kennebunk Savings Bank. Where do I see Tony? She's here somewhere. There she is. Hi, Tony. Tony and I are also neighbors in Nottingham. And also Breeze Line. We've got a nice table of folks back there. Breeze Line, also very good friends of us. And I was telling them this morning, I'm just back from vacation. I went to Costa Rica and I brought my Breeze Line water bottle with me. So as Jeffrey says to me, why didn't you bring your Eversource swag? So I don't have any Eversource swag. So sorry. So that brings me to our underwriter this morning, which is Eversource. Jeffrey Jackson is here with us this morning. He is a community relations specialist for Eversource, and he's going to say a few words on behalf of our underwriter and also introduce our first speaker this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Margaret penned me in for a minute, so I'll give you just 60 seconds. We serve 211 communities across New Hampshire. We're very fortunate to do so, providing safe, reliable power. But I always say secretly that Dover is my favorite. Don't tell Portsmouth. One of the things that we work on very closely with the city is our advanced metering, smart switching, and basically making the area more robust as we look towards a more electric future and more industry coming to this area, which I think we'll touch on today. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to approach me at any of these events. I'm typically around. Love to talk in the business. So without further ado, I think we can kind of get into who our main speaker is. He's an illustrious gentleman. I think many of you know. I often see him wearing two watches, perhaps because he never has enough time. So let's hope he gives us enough time today. I'll turn it over to him. Chris Parker, where are you, sir? Come on up. There.
So I like analog, but then I like counting steps. My name is Chris Parker. I'm the Deputy City Manager here in Dover, and I appreciate that the Chamber has continued its support of the waterfront redevelopment, having us here for the 5th time in 10 years to talk about this project. How is everyone today?
Great.
Okay, we're celebrating a huge success here, so I think I'm probably not the only one that's been up since 4:30. You should have some energy. How are people doing today? Thank you. Going to have a presentation. Unlike Jeff, who got a minute, I have 15, so buckle up. Provided I can get this to go. Don't worry, Tony, I can ad-lib.
You just have to turn it on set.
Oh. I love operator errors. There you go. Hunting. All right. So in case you didn't remember who I was, and my name's there, the waterfront is an interesting topic. It's a successful topic here for the community. We're going to walk through today with some context to set the stage, and then we're going to talk about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And most of that conversation is actually going to be with representatives from CPI or Cathartis. We're going to walk you through their vision and how they're going to build on the foundation that the city and the public have invested in over the past 30 plus years. That was taken yesterday. Think back to what you think the waterfront looks like. Is that what you think it looks like? Probably not. You're probably thinking like me, and we'll show you some pictures later on of what it looked like for so long and is in people's minds as to what they experience and what they expect to see on the waterfront. As I said, I want to start with some context. So this is a 29-acre parcel with about 1,900 linear feet of frontage on the tidal portion of the Cachiko River. It has had a long history of supporting our economic development in the community as a shipping location, as a center of industry, as a dump. We transitioned the property about 50 to 70 years ago from the industry and the economic driver that it was in the 1800s to more of a functional space. It was very much in vogue in the 40s, 50s to put your wastewater treatment plant and your public works facility downtown, check and check. But that is not the long-term vision for this. While I am standing here, I am by no means the most important cog in the wheel that moved this project forward. As you'll hear later, for the past 20 years, the Cachiko Waterfront Advisory Development Commission has governed and provided the insight and direction for the waterfront. There are 15 dedicated people, 3 ex officio, the mayor, the city manager, and the housing authority director. They work with 12 residents who bring a variety of expertise and certainly opinions to the waterfront process. And really, they are the ones that have put in the lifeblood. I can't move on further without saying that while I am up here, those 15 people really are the engine. But if we didn't recognize 4 in particular, Jack Meddy, Jack Buckley, and Dana Lynch, unfortunately, those could not be here today. They have been driving this bus for at least 30 of those years prior to Quiddick. And then Steve Bird, who was a long-term city employee who really picked up the reins on the municipal side and drove the bus and handed off the keys to me and said, okay, just go build it. But a lot of that effort that went in, those 4 individuals, I think they deserve a round of applause. So please join. They didn't do it alone, though, so we did have a bunch of consultants and a variety of experts behind the scenes, starting off with Union Studio and Horsley Witten, who were the design team behind the project, and leading up to now with Northeast Earth Mechanics, who is doing the site work for the city to create the public improvements, which we will talk about, and CJ Architects, which designed the pavilion building, which we just had the kickoff meeting for earlier this week, and Pinebrook Construction, who is going to construct that pavilion building. So as I said, I want to cover where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And by my read, I still have 12 minutes, so good luck. The history, as I noted, this property has had a long history. You'll see on the left an early image of what the site looked like when it was really in its industrial and shipping phase. The property had a coal shed on it, it had mill remnants on it, it had a lot of different variety of industrial shipping infrastructure associated with it. On the right, that's what I remember. The wastewater treatment plant on the end, on what's known as the knuckle, as well as the public works facility, the school bus storage facility, back when we used to do school buses, and then associated and up to behind the scene is the municipal landfill and other infrastructure-related elements. As you can imagine, with a property that's had this sort of history, there's a lot of complexity to it. There's a lot of things buried, known and unknown, that we've experienced over the past couple of years. It's really provided a nice, complex project to work on. Again, where have we been? As I said, Quiddick has been around for about 20 years. They're not the start of the project. The project started in approximately 1984 with the Pacific Mills renovation plan. The Pacific Mills are the mills downtown. The city actually owned them for a period of 40 years between the 1940s and 1984. There was a master plan developed to redevelop those mills, get them off the city ownership and into the private hands. Part of that was looking at the larger downtown, which at the time still had that commercial and industrial zoning and much less of the mixed-use zoning you see today, and much less residential presence, much less of a retail service, much more of that construction presence. The chamber, as I noted, has been a long supporter, and you see here in 1990, they really get behind creating a waterfront group. I found a memo that Dana provided me that I sent out to Quiddick last week from 1990, where it laid out a variety of vision elements, a lot of which we see today are part of the final plan. These elements included access to the river, more parkland, extending downtown, not replacing downtown, but really bringing downtown across the Cachiko. For those of you that aren't aware, the Macon Bridge, which was constructed in 2010 and 11, replaces a bridge that was removed in 1981. So there had been this connection to downtown. It had been sort of removed from a deteriorated point of view of infrastructure. We wanted to recapture that, bring that back, encourage active and vibrant development. And that really stems from those 1990 conversations, which led to a 1994 charrette that the chamber did. We had what was called Riverfest. It was down in Henry Law Park. Really a good culmination of public input, public investment that created a vision document at the time that helped guide the creation of a separate committee, which then morphed into what we now see as Quiddick when the project changed. So what have we been doing over the past 20 years? Not sitting on our hands. Quiddick created a vision. They did another charrette in 2005. This charrette has been the updated version of what we have moving forward. We solicited and selected a developer. They were going to work with us on the project at the time. This was the mid-aughts. Then the Great Recession hit, and that developer elected to move on. We had some conversations at the city level, particularly with the city council, about our partnership role in this. Was it going to be, as it had really been envisioned, of here are the keys, develop the site, let us know when you're done? Or was it going to be more of a partnership? Was it going to transition from a seller-buyer relationship to a community relationship? The council at the time elected to go that route and created the TIF district, Tax Increment Finance District, which allows the city to pay for the infrastructure that is going in today, the roads, utilities, the park. All of those elements, in effect, are being afforded by the TIF, which will then be paid back through the development that will occur on the site. It's a much more complex financing model than I think any of us have 10 minutes to go over. So happy to have more information on that at a later time. But as a result of that, we were actually able to secure a partner. Again, not a developer that we were going to sell the land to, but a partner that we were going to work with. A partner that we developed a land development agreement that looks at the complexities of the site and looks at the nuances of how we need to work together to come up with this common vision and effectuate that vision for the benefit of the community and the developer. And finally, as a part of that, we've finalized the plans. These plans include the public improvements plans, and they include the site plans. So what does this all look like? Here is a look at what the concept that had been generated over the years looked like. And this is what Cathartis, our partner, provided as how they saw that concept. And one of the things I really liked about our partnership and continue to like is there was a reality check along the way. We can all have great visions, right? We can all say, wouldn't it be nice if, but there's a point in time when you have to say, those things cost money, or those things need these resources to be in place. So we set our expectations. We looked at the evaluated concept and said, how do we come up with something that actually can be built, that actually can be marketable, that actually can work? And that was part of that partnership, was looking at the realistic expectations for the development. Everyone wants to know what the deal is. So here's the deal. The deal is summarized here. It is, I think, Rob can correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably a 100-page document that I've distilled down to 7 lines. So take that for what it's worth. The purchase price is broken down by unit cost. So as the phases are taken down, meaning as we convey the phases to the developer, there is a per unit price with a bottom line price of $3.3 million for the sites. So far, 3 of the parcels have been sold off to Cathartis, the ones that they are developing now for buildings C, D, and E. E is a 3-part building. It's the townhouses that you see, and I'm sure they will go over in more detail. There is a requirement for some square footage of commercial within the space. There is an opportunity for a hotel if that comes along, and that would work towards the residential component as well. And then, most importantly, as I mentioned earlier, the TIF was utilized to finance the public improvements. And as part of the development agreement, we negotiated guaranteed maximum or guaranteed minimum assessed values. These assessed values are put in place so the community is guaranteed to get back its investment through the tax receipts, which will pay for the debt service encumbered under the public improvement portion. So what are those public improvements? How is the city invested? As you can see by that aerial I showed earlier, or if you've driven by the site, we have constructed roadways, we've constructed utilities. As Jeff mentioned, we are working with Eversource to add electricity. You might be shocked to know that when you're a public works facility, you have much less electrical need than when you are a mixed-use development with 400 residential units. And keeping with our code and our visions, those utilities will all be underground. It's an added component, added complexity that we're working with Eversource on how to complete. We want to continue the Riverwalk. The Riverwalk starts at Washington Street, comes down through Henry Law Park, comes around onto now Payne Street. It will cross the Macon Bridge and be part of the park and ultimately go up through McGlarus Park, creating a multi-factor, multi-variable walking experience for those that are enjoying the walkway. We wanted to create a public gathering space. We want to make sure that the public is actually able to use the space and that it's not, well, look at that park, but it is an actual space that you can use on a variety of levels, including gathering. And that's the main component behind the pavilion building, which I'll show you a rendering of in a little bit. Finally, we are agreed to create pad-ready development sites. Pad-ready sites are areas that we can then turn over to the developer where the base site work is in place that they can come in and build their buildings. We are bringing the trunk lines for the water, sewer, et cetera. They need to bring the actual service lines to the building for actual utilization. But we needed to create that infrastructure that you expect to be there if you're going to develop a site around it. It's a little bit hard to see, but one of the things that I think is important is through the public input process, we wanted to make sure that we reflected the community's vision for the park. So we said, what are some of the things you'd like to see? Access to the river, clear. Farmers market was a big one that the community said they'd like to see that down there. Again, gathering spaces, again, public art, things of those natures that really create the vibrant park that we're going to have in about a year. So that's where we've been. We've got a base. Now, what are we looking at? Is there a way to adjust the lighting? Yeah. I spent all this time putting pictures together. I want you to be able to see them. You might recall the bluffs. This is the blasting that occurred. There were mountains of rock that had to be removed to create what ultimately will be 2 building locations. This was the blasting that we did starting in 2017 to help change the site and look and feel of the site to create more of a developable area. This is the site plan. This is the plan that was done with Cathartis to say, how do we build out that site? Rob's looking at it and saying, is that really the site plan? I think it might be an early iteration. I had to find what I could find. The park, as I mentioned, a big component of the public investment is creating this park, which in size will be larger than Henry Law and will have a component that mimics different areas of the river. So as you get closer to McGlarus Park, it's more wild, more natural. And as you get closer to the Macon Bridge, it is much more of an urban hardscape park than a landscape park. So it's a variety of parks. The Waterfront Committee suggested, and ultimately the City Council agreed, to name this Nebby Park, which is in honor of the heritage from the indigenous people that once used this area much more than we've probably given them credit for in the past. One of the things I think we should be proud of as a community is that we didn't try to appropriate a name. We worked with representatives of the indigenous culture and said, what would a name that represents the river, the area of land, what would that be? And Nebby, which means bend in the river, clearly an appropriate name, is there. And we had the groundbreaking. The groundbreaking was just about 2 years ago. It's hard to believe when you think about all the change that has occurred between this slightly awkward picture and again yesterday. One of the things that I think we need to be congratulating ourselves on as a community is that this is not a simple project. This is not, we had a field in the middle of nowhere that we were able to plat out and build on. It's a complex site. As I said, it's about 150 years of a mixture of industrial, commercial, and municipal uses on the site. As we were doing some excavation, we had a commitment in the development agreement to go down 10 feet. And if we found something, an old foundation or underground storage tank, both of which we found, we had to continue to what's called chase it. We had to continue to go deeper to find it. We found a piece that we ended up going down 25 feet because it was a 15-foot tall piece of foundation. Not necessarily what you expect to find there, but when you look at the history and you look at what was involved, it's not a shock. It made for a slightly bad day, but it was not a shock. This site is complex. No doubt about it. This site is comprehensive. You can find a lot of different elements on this site from our history, from our natural evolution, from our cultural evolution. This site is our future. This site shows how this community continues to evolve and grow, and how this community doesn't sit back and say, hey, downtown's good, it's vibrant, it's active. No, we say, how do we continue to expand? How do we continue to grow? And how do we continue to be relevant? As I wrap up the where we've been, I want to shift into where we're going. And in that shift, I want to show you the pavilion. As I said the other day, we started the kickoff of this project on Tuesday, met with the contractor, Pinebrook, and CJ Architects, as well as staff, to discuss how we're going to be moving this project forward. In the previous picture, you see in the front, the foundation has been put in place for this building. Is this? Oh, there. Well, it's right in there. This building will go on top of that. You can see the foundation elements starting here. This rendering shows what we hope to have a year from now. The building starts in April and should be completed in December of this year. We expect to have the park open to the public in May of next year. We are on track. We have had some bumps. You might have read about my illicit text string that I released confidential information about. It was a bad day in my life, but we're moving forward. This project is a great project. I want to thank Jamie Stevens, who's the project manager who works with us on the day-to-day basis. He really is the nuts and bolts. I'm the happy, friendly, let me sign the checks kind of guy. Let me listen to Rob when he's got a complaint kind of guy. This project is something, as I said, that the community should be proud of, and I can't wait to see you all at the ribbon cuttings and enjoying the park a year from now. I'm going to turn it over to Jackie Hooper from Cathartis to walk you through her presentation about where she sees the project going.
While Melissa gets my slide deck ready, as Chris said, I'm Jackie Huber. I work with Cathartis. We're the developer for the Waterfront District, and I've been with Cathartis long enough that I've seen, our initial involvement in the Waterfront District, and I'm excited to see where it is now and take you guys through the different phases of the development and what those elements look like. My presentation is pretty visual, so I'm going to be pointing to a lot of things and face this way for the most part. As we said, though, as Chris mentioned in his presentation, the Waterfront District is the name of the development. Chris did a great job of going over the history of the site, but we also sort of start with what the site looked like before the construction started. You can see here, this photo is from 2019, so there is some of that site work that occurred that Chris was referring to in his presentation, but you can see that none of the real construction has started here. And we take it to what is the permitted master plan, again, which Chris kind of outlined in his presentation. But I wanted to highlight for you that This is the entire master plan for the site. It encompasses 8 buildings, over 400 residential units, and over 20,000 square feet of commercial. And we'll get into all of those details a little bit more. But as you can see, and as Chris has talked about, the entire site for the Waterfront District is really anchored by Nebby Park. You can see how much greenery there really is along the Cachiko River in this master plan, and how important the park is and will be to the overall development. So this is a rendering that I look at pretty often, and I love to show people because it really takes everything Chris was talking about and brings it to life. It is a rendering. Obviously, we're still in construction, so but this is as close to all of the permitted plans as you could get in a rendering. And I think it highlights everything that Chris outlined in his presentation. You know, what started as a really vibrant vision for an extension of downtown Dover that was shaped by 20 years of learning and refinement and recession became this development known as the Waterfront District. So we'll talk about this a little bit more, but just some key elements. If you look at the master plan here, you can see that some of the buildings are referred to with letters. So we've got building C here and building D. Buildings E are the townhouse buildings, as Chris mentioned. And this is what really encompasses phase 1, which we'll talk about more. So that's what's under construction now. And then, as Chris mentioned, you know, a rendering of the pavilion that is under construction, and the totality of the park here. This just brings the park to life so much. And again, just it really encompasses how much of an impact that will make. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the name, the Waterfront District, and how we reached that term. It's been referred to as the Cachiko Waterfront Development for a really long time. And that a lot of times has been shortened to just the Waterfront Development or just the Waterfront. And because that name has such a long history and really tied to the site, we felt like it was really important not to move away from that, but to really embrace it. But we also recognize that very soon this won't be just a development anymore. It will be a neighborhood and a real extension of downtown. But we wanted to kind of play off of what everyone knew, and we used the D from development to make it a district, which really speaks to a neighborhood area. So that's how we arrived at the name, the Waterfront District. And in terms of some of the visuals that we have here, this is, you know, how we're going to be displaying that on signage. And we have some really beautifully created visuals here that I wanted to highlight. This is the seal that's been created for the Waterfront District, and it really focuses on some of the natural elements of the site. You know, the site is literally shaped by the Cachiko River, and we wanted to highlight that in you know, everything that we use to visualize the Waterfront District. And so you can see here that the main component of this seal is the river. We have the bridge that's coming across. We've got, you know, this is sort of supposed to be like the dock of Nebby Park, and then, of course, the building structures. But we felt it important to include the trees and all of the natural qualities of the site as well. I think this is probably my favorite piece of what was created because it just really visualizes all of the key features of the site. The Waterfront District here, this is supposed to represent the bridge. So as you come across the bridge in downtown, that's how you enter the Waterfront District. And then this emblem, the curves inside the Waterfront District circle are to emulate the curve of the river that you see here. So it's all really authentic and focused on the qualities of the site and the history of how everyone has referred to it as the waterfront development over time. So this is, I think, super helpful to look at, depending on how familiar you are with the development. It really just breaks down the development into the 3 phases in which we'll be building. So phase 1, as we talked about in green here, this is, again, buildings D, building C here, and then the townhouse buildings in the rear. Phase 2 is a condo building, which we'll talk a little bit more about, and then phase 3 are these 2 blue buildings in the back. So let's jump right in and talk about phase one. So phase one has a few different components to it. The main component of building C and D are the apartments. So there will be 197 apartments. Those will range from studios to 3 bedrooms. Roughly, the studios are roughly 650 square feet. The 3 bedrooms will be close to 1,400 square feet. And then we provide the unit mix here on the next slide. It will also include the townhouses. So as you can see right here, these are the townhouses. There will be 23 of them. They're all 3-bed, 2.5 bath. It will include 5,000 square feet of co-work, which I'm excited to talk a little bit more about. And then the remainder of the commercial on the site is a little bit over 10,000 square feet. Again, Chris has alluded to the timing of this. We expect this phase one, all of those components to be complete this winter. So let's dig into the apartments. As I said, we've got studios to 3 bedrooms. Here's where you can see that unit mix. This is a sample floor plan of our typical 2-bedroom. And the apartment portion of phase one will have a lot of amenities available. Obviously, Nebby Park is a huge amenity, not only to the residents of the Waterfront District, but everyone in Dover. And the buildings will include a cafe, fireside lounge, really great top floor space. That's what this progress rendering is of. So you can kind of see here that it's a little bit of a lounge area, and then out here is a terrace looking out over the Cachiko River. We'll have fitness, yoga studio. We'll feature local art, just as we do at Orpheum. And to really highlight access to the Cachiko River, we're going to be doing a kayak and paddleboard share program. So our residents will have access to free kayaks and paddleboards, which they can take across to the dock to use in the river. The townhouses, so 23 townhouses. As I mentioned, they'll all be 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This is a floor plan of those, so you can get an idea of the layout. This is a picture taken just about 10 days ago. You can really see these townhouses come to life here. The townhouses are, I think, a really unique offering in the area. They'll, separate from the apartments. They'll have private entrances, private garages. They'll have upgraded finishes compared to the apartments, a fireplace and balconies. So really special opportunity there with the townhouses. And co-work. As I'm guessing most of you know, Cathartis also owns Orpheum on Washington Street in downtown Dover. That is an apartment building that has co-work on the first floor. So this co-work here that we're going to have in the Waterfront District will be about double the size of the co-work business that we have within Orpheum. We're really excited about bringing more co-work to Dover. We think it's a great offering, especially as a lot of people now post-COVID have flexible work schedules or only go into the office a few days a week. This provides a space for someone to work outside of their home, to connect with the local community, and even just to rent space. As is mentioned here, you don't have to necessarily be a member or utilize a private office of co-work. We will be offering conference room rentals by the hour, including a 20% boardroom conference room, which we think is sort of a missing aspect of what we have available in Dover right now, a large-scale boardroom. So those spaces will be available to the public, like I said, for rent by the hour or day. And we're really excited to offer these business features to Dover and to really welcome the public and to serve the community for its different business needs. And then the commercial aspect of phase one. So there are 3 commercial suites within phase one between buildings C and D. This rendering is of the courtyard that exists between buildings C and D. This is building C, and then this is building D as you get more oriented with the different buildings and phases of the site. And this courtyard in between offers a really nice visual, some nice, beautiful landscaping, but it also offers outdoor dining opportunities for the commercial here in Building C, as well as the NCAP commercial in Building D. For this space here in Building C, we are very excited and feel very fortunate to have Evan Hennessy, the owner of Stages here in Dover, signed on to be opening a restaurant in Building C. So this will be his space, and he'll have some outdoor dining within the courtyard. And I'm excited for him to talk a little bit more about his involvement and his vision for the restaurant. But we're really excited to have him on board. We talked a little bit about Suite 2 right here, which will also can be food and beverage and has the availability for outdoor dining. And then we have Suite 3, which is 3,500 square feet, and that can be subdivided into smaller pieces depending on the interest of the community. So all of these uses combined, we talked about apartments, townhouses, co-work, and commercial. All of them together make Phase 1, which we have named the Truett. So we wanted to share that brand with you and the name. We're announcing it now. The Truett, if you take off the E at the end, has roots in an Old English meaning of riverbend, which is ironic since that's how Nebby Park came to be too. So it's not lost on anyone that the river plays a huge significance to everything that's being done here. But that's how the Truett was developed. And the brand and sort of feel of the buildings will have this young, vibrant, fun take on living with the river. So there's these caricatures of birds and squirrels and really highlighting what it will be like to live next to the Kachika River. So that's Phase 1. Everything that we talked about in green, which you now know will be named the Truett. Let's talk a little bit about Phases 2 and 3. So Phase 2 will be for sale condominiums. Here's a sneak peek floor plan of a 2-bedroom and den. We are just in the process of developing these floor plans for the units, and we're super excited to continue on with our design development of Phase 2. This gives you a breakdown of the condominium unit mix and rough sizes. And this phase has the potential to break ground as soon as this fall. So it's coming very quickly, and we're really excited to bring a for sale product to the Waterfront District. And then Phase 3. So Phase 3 will be additional apartment buildings. They'll offer roughly 150 apartments. This is still in design, and it will be along the Kachiko River. This is that river walk that Chris was talking about that connects to Henry Law Park. Again, it'll feature river views and amenities similar to the Truett apartments. And the timing of Phase 3 will be upon completion of Phases 1 and 2. And that's everything. So I know we've got a panel discussion, and then we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. But we did want to take some time just to say thank you, obviously, to the City of Dover, city officials, and QUIDIC. Without QUIDIC and the city officials supporting this development, we would not be involved, and it wouldn't be what it is today. So thank you very much, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting us and having us today.
We're going to now bring up the panel, and we're going to have a few starter questions, which will hopefully get your minds thinking, because after the panel is the participation portion of the program where you have to actually be part of the program and ask questions. So I'm going to ask Norm Fracassa, who's the chair of the Kachiko Waterfront Development Advisory Commission, Evan Hennessy from Stages, and Rob Simmons, Director of Development for Cathartis, to enjoy the time at the table. So Norm sat first, so we're going to start our questions with him.
Yes, yeah.
So Norm, as I mentioned, QUIDIC has had a 20-year history, but the project really has had a much longer history in the community. Can you talk from the community standpoint about what it means to see the buildings down there, what it means to see QUIDIC's vision going forward, and how you protect and invest in that vision?
Great question.
Thank you.
One that is probably really involved and from different perspectives as well. I certainly see it from my perspective, but I would imagine that from a resident of the city of Dover, the phrase that you might say is a long time coming. As was alluded to earlier, there's been many years that this has been being planned and lots of challenges along the way. So for many residents, you think about a development or a construction project, you're thinking about dump trucks, you're thinking about what you see there today and a lot of lumber and steel going up. But for many years, you didn't see any of that until probably, like we said, less than 2 years ago. So there's a lot of skepticism, a lot of wondering what's going on, and understandably so if you're not in that industry. As a landscape architect myself, I see things from a little bit different perspective. There is a lot of planning and visionary and scraps and starts and stops that go to any project before the first dump truck shows up on site. So it is very exciting to see us finally at this point. After many years, some of the people on our committee have been on that board for many years. So more than myself, so they are very excited to be able to see what is happening there today, and excited to see, as you mentioned too, what's happening here in the future and where we're going.
Thank you. Rob, Cathartis is not a young company. It's not a new company. You have an established track record and history of development, both in the Seacoast, but also in the region. What attracted Cathartis to Dover, first in the Orpheum and now the Waterfront?
Sure. So we've been working in the Seacoast area in Portsmouth in New Hampshire for over 25 years. Actually, one of the principals of Cathartis was a UNH graduate, so he's been up here even longer. He cut his teeth at the Sawyer Mills, doing leasing and working for the Flatley Company. So already had a unique experience in Dover, which then brought him to Portsmouth and doing some leasing for the old Parade Mall office, which Cathartis eventually ended up owning and redeveloping into the Port Walk project in Portsmouth. So we've been doing development in the Seacoast in New Hampshire for a long time. That project gave us a unique hands-on experience with what it's like to kind of develop and invest in the region. Have always had an eye on Dover, with all the economic drivers in the area between the trade port, the shipyard, all the hospitals, Frisbee, Wentworth, Douglas. There's just a lot of economic drivers in the region. And bringing us to downtown Dover, where we saw the city's investment in the parking garage, attracting the Children's Museum downtown. We just saw a lot of good movement toward and momentum in the city, in addition to it being a great downtown, walkable, authentic area. Again, we wanted to be part of that momentum, and that started with the Orpheum and kind of led to Cochico and hopefully beyond.
So the next evolution of that is Evan. Evan, you've had a successful career here in Dover with Stages. What made you think, I want more?
It's a great question. I went to Dover High School, grew up in Dover. My parents actually still live 10 minutes from the restaurant. And so for me, being a resident of Dover, I actually moved to South Berwick, so I'm sorry. Just not like the drive. Was really important to not only carry on the 13 years of business that I've had at Stages and thankful for all the success, but to now, for a long time, we've been looking towards the future. I actually met Jeff Johnson, who you're referring to, many, many years ago in regards to the Port Walk Place. And it's been, like, again, to use Norm's phrase, like a long time coming. Like, we've really been looking to work together. It's just, when is the time right? And I felt, looking at, again, my connection to Dover, being here, the proximity to the restaurant that I have right now, that this made complete sense. And I was really excited to be a part of this real growth of the city. I think that I've had a lot of growth professionally, and I'm really happy to have that rooted here in this town, and to be able to continue that and to give you more and a different offering is very important to me. So I'm excited to be here in front of you guys.
Norm, as you look at the renderings that we show in general, but then that Jackie went more into depth on, does it reflect, to your opinion, what you thought years ago when you joined Quiddick, the type of project we'd be seeing on the site?
Overall, yes. It does. And that's really saying something because again, in my profession as a landscape architect, you're very used to having many ideas, but then it get whittled down or maybe a conglomeration of a number of ideas that come together for the final product. And it doesn't always look like what you first envisioned, especially when you just take out a piece of paper and you start drawing things, and then you start to see many of the challenges with that property. And from my perspective, this isn't a piece of property that can just be, okay, great. We took the school buses off and we removed the community services building in the recycling center, and now we're good. To be wise stewards of a property, you need to do what you can to kind of make things right, and we can't just leave that property like that. So while there are certainly many opportunities, not every time you hear that a city has 29 acres on a river that runs through the middle of the city available for development, but it's not all it's cracked up to be because there were many challenges along the way. But overall, yes, it does. I wrote down a couple of notes here and something that I want to make sure I get right. This comes from our design guidelines that we established in September of 2017 that Quiddick provided. And our vision is this: to provide a vibrant waterfront with public gathering spaces and access to the water, a place for people to live, meet, relax, encounter nature, conduct business, and learn of Dover's history. To ensure the social and economic benefits derived from a revitalized waterfront are shared by all of Dover's residents. One of our goals is to create a positive image for the waterfront that will stimulate private and public investment within the area. So I think when you hear that vision and our goals, I think that, yes, we are on our way. It may look a little different from the many different iterations through the many years, which is common with any project. But no, I'm very happy to be able to say that overall, the people of Dover, the public park, in which I'll touch on in a little bit more in a bit here. But yes, it definitely does reflect what the vision was from our committee throughout the number of years.
Rob, as you alluded to and I mentioned, Cathartis, this is not your first project. Can you talk to us a little about the uniqueness of not just buying a piece of land and developing it, the model we were previously thinking about using, to the model now? You have to work with Quiddick. You have to work through me. How does that compare? What's that like from the end user standpoint?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it was extremely advantageous to hear what the vision was, to be working with Quiddick and understand what their goals are, because as, semi-outsiders of Dover, we didn't want to come in and say, this is what your vision is. So having that vision right up front was extremely helpful to understand. And it really came down to, the city's reconnecting the city to the waterfront, reconnecting to the river to the waterfront, and using our development, our buildings as the engine that could make that happen. So I found it extremely helpful. I mean, you had mentioned earlier working with Dana and Jack, the previous chair, Norm, and the rest of the Quiddick board. We worked over 3.5 years and went through multiple iterations. And without their help and their support and their input, I don't think we would have gotten to this point now where we have, 8 very great, vibrant, interactive, pedestrian-friendly buildings that are going to really be a great investment to this area, to this park. So,
Evan, how are you going to leverage the way that the Quiddick vision was in place to support your restaurant and your venture?
I mean, a big through line between everything that everybody has said so far is the connection to the community. And again, that's something that's so important to me. The fact that there is green space is something that I need. I mean, I've worked in cities and good. I really enjoy the sort of the combination of municipal to green space that Dover offers, and to be able to see what it is that everybody's putting together in design here. Again, that to me just makes sense. We're really excited to be able to utilize the outdoor space. I honestly think that nobody's ever actually come into the restaurant. I think they'll probably stay outside. I would, given all the beautiful space that's going to be out there. So again, like an attraction for me, like when I saw the plans, that was a huge check mark for me to be able to see that. I never wanted to create something that was just another box. If any of you've been to Stages, that's what I've already got. So it was very important for me to be able to connect to the greenery, the landscape, the outside, and the natural world, and the fact that the river is flowing right there and has great history behind it is amazing.
So this is everyone's 5-minute warning. We're going to be looking for you to start providing questions very soon. I'm going to go one last round through everyone. So again, 5-minute warning. Norm, I don't want to talk about the park, and I don't want you to talk about the park. Let's talk about baseball. It's opening day.
Opening day, nice week.
The Yankees are already behind. Are you happy?
We're in first place and we're in last place at the same time.
So seriously, it is opening day, so we should give a round of applause for that. I already have. But, Norm, please do talk about the park. I know we've talked about it here, that it really is one of the amenities the community for 30 plus years has said they want. You've got the passion there. Why don't you walk us through what the vision for that park is, unless I covered it all, and then move on to something else.
Well, you did do a good job of touching on many of the key points and the reasons why we have that park earlier in your presentations, and the visuals really help too, because when you see what it was used for before, I think one of those images I had never even seen before with the water treatment plant right out to the corner here. So I've lived here in the city for about 20 years now, and so I very much experienced the recycling center down there and utilized it, and to see it today is fantastic. To see where it's going to know that it follows a vision is even more important, to me. One of the things that drew me to work with this committee was to help this committee continue to provide the guidance and the oversight to come alongside the city and whoever the developer would be to work together, not to be a hindrance or anything like that. So it's been fantastic to work with that committee. When it comes to the park, you do see a number of developments, and there's a number of people that would come into a place like this with 29 acres, and they would go ahead and invest in buildings that were 20 feet off that river all the way around. The streets would be on the backside. There would be minimal green space because you're trying to maximize that. I really applaud the city for listening to the public, and Quiddick for also making an emphasis of protecting the space all along the river, that will always be Dover owned, that will always be completely open to the public for anybody who's visiting or the residents of Dover. That is part of your downtown, part of your backyard, however you want to be able to view that. So the park really is important. I'm glad to see certainly a very good business owner in Evan recognizing the value of that green space and how it actually helps his situation instead of being a deterrent to where his restaurant is going to be. I think that this park is going to have a number of things that people will enjoy. Yes, it's going to have benches. It's going to have swings. It's going to have a lot of art in this project as well in this park. It is a lot of shade trees, varying green spaces, overlooks. Today on my way driving here, I believe they were starting to work on the granite steps that are leading down to the river right off the Macomb Bridge over there too. So this, not to mention the public pavilion that I think everyone's going to really enjoy. They're getting started on that in April, and I think should be finishing up in December of this year as well. So very, very excited to see things moving forward there. It certainly is a complicated site, but one that we're very excited to see as it complements the private part of this project. And Rob was saying too how it all complements each other and is making their, an asset to their residents in their project as well. So one thing that I recall is that throughout the years in our community outreach that our committee has done, the public has repeatedly said that a high priority is green space in the park, access to the water, as you mentioned, in various ways. Not everyone is going to have a boat or a kayak. Some people just simply want to be able to walk along the river, look at it, go to an overlook, sit in the Adirondack chairs in the pavilion, just enjoy where they live. So it's something that this park will be able to provide for many people. Those people have also said that an important aspect to them is to maintain what we have. So when it comes to this park, it's very important to not just see, the park is built, but also to see how is that going to, what is the plan? How is that going to be maintained? As the phrase goes, don't buy the car if you can't afford the oil changes or to be able to take care of it. So I know that's very important to the public. And so we recognize that as a committee, and we will be addressing more of that as we move forward, because frankly, the years that we have spent as a committee planning, designing, giving feedback, we're starting to transition and evolve because now as the construction is beginning, our main focus is more of oversight and also looking towards the future, because at some point our job will be done as a committee, I think, at some point. and when it is, you kind of proverbially hand off the baton, to the city or the people that will be certainly taking care of the park moving forward as well. So the park is very, very important. You don't always have that opportunity. A very prominent person in our community throughout the years, Dave Bamford, I believe, quoted one time saying, "You have one chance. Do it right." And that's there's a lot of hard decisions that come along with that. But the committee has really tried hard to really stick to its vision and understand the financial implications, but also thinking about the future and who we are leaving it off to, because we're not just creating this park for us, we're creating it for everybody that will be here after us as well.
Rob, as we transition to the public questions, is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Is there anything you want to make sure Cathartis shares? You've got pages of notes, I see, so strap in.
Well, I think, Chris, you mentioned the complexity of this project. We can talk about the complexity of starting in the soils and the obstructions right up through the complexity of just, coordinating 3 different construction projects all happening in the same location: the pump station, the offsite improvements, the private development, soon to be 4 with the pavilion building. And I just, as I mentioned before, it's just not possible. It wouldn't have been possible without the partnership with the city, without working with you for the last 5 years. I'm sure you've enjoyed every bit of it. Working with the folks, I lost a lot of weight. You guys bet. Working with the folks at the DPW, certainly with Steve Bird for all those years, Ken, the city engineer, and his team, Jamie now, talking to him every week. So it's just all the collaboration, the coordination. We haven't done this with any municipality and have had this strong a partnership. So we really appreciate that. Wouldn't be able to make this project happen without that. So we're very excited for delivering the buildings at the end of this year. We're excited to see the park come to life and, be part of the growth of the community and Riverfront and Waterfront to come. So,
And finally, Evan, on Signal, people keep asking me what reservation timeline you're looking for when I can get in.
No comment.
I believe Melissa's got mics, unless you actually do want to comment. You got mics, and is happy to start taking questions from the audience.
I was going to say, I'm selfishly going to ask a question first to Evan because I go to Stages quite a bit. Is the new restaurant going to be similar to Stages? Is it going to be different, or is this another no comment?
That's got to be the most common question they get asked. It is going to be very different. There is a through line, and this is something that's extremely important to me. Again, going back to the word of community involvement, and community connection. We have, in my opinion, one of the strongest farmer network connections out of any restaurant that I've seen in this region. We have breeding programs, growing cycles. If you can literally take my restaurant and put it on a farm, that's more or less what it is. We just have it in a building. We've been working hard for years and years and years to make those connections, for vegetables to be grown for us, animals to be raised for us. I have a buddy that's a bluefin tuna fisherman, so on and so forth. We go out and harvest oysters. To be able to bring that philosophy into a restaurant that is much more casual, I don't know if that's the term you're looking for, and community focused, is something that I'm really extremely proud to be able to do.
Well, I'm, for one, very excited. So
I'll get from behind the pole here. Hi, I'm John Nichols. I'm the executive director of the Woodman Museum. So I've heard a couple times in Chris's presentation and your presentations as well that you're looking to incorporate, educate, and honor the history of Dover with the new development. And I'm wondering, what does that kind of look like? I know Nebby Park is honoring the indigenous history of the area. I'm just wondering if there's anything else going in as well, history-wise.
Is that for me? I don't know. So nice to meet you. I think we worked together with the Orphan Project in putting together some pieces for the museum. So we've just begun actually, over the last couple of years, really, but really more recently, we've started to put together some ideas and some thoughts for arts throughout the building, but also throughout the park. We've had a couple meetings with the Arts Commission on that, and we look forward to putting together a presentation for them. Welcome to involve others as well in kind of what our vision is for the private development side on our buildings, but also see how that can tie to the park and what they're doing over there as well.
I think I would add to that, and Norm can go more in detail, but he alluded to the design guidelines that were established in 2017. If you look through the design guidelines that Quiddick put together, they really were done to say, here is the baseline heritage architecturally of the community. We don't want to be locked into it. We're not Disneyfied, but we want to honor that past. And I think Rob and his team have really built on that with modern buildings, but that have nods to the past. And I think that heritage is part of that conversation as well.
Perfect. Thank you. I guess I was wondering, I know like Faces of Dover has a bunch of signs throughout, and I was more talking about the river walk. I'm wondering if anything is being incorporated with that.
Chris, feel free to pull your chair up to the table. We've got a mic for you.
Oh, I think they've had enough of me. So we have had some preliminary conversations, and I think as the park evolves, those are more finishing touches in my mind. So as we have tried to get into the above grade portion of the project, and we're still in the subgrade at some levels, we're going to have those conversations more in depth.
Yes, Hi, Sarah Donovan with Foster's. I wanted to ask when the apartments/townhomes will be ready for rent or to be purchased.
So as of today, in the ever-changing, surprising construction world, but as of today, end of the year is our hope to start introducing the first couple of phases. The townhouses should be available a little sooner. As you can see, they're pretty far along, but that's the goal as of now.
For sure. End of the year as in December or just...
So hopefully the townhouses will be kind of late fall, kind of November timeline. And then the rest of the buildings will hopefully follow shortly thereafter, early January. Great. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry. Kathleen, I'm from Biddy Media. I commend you for the progress and the vision and to hold firm in keeping the green space for perpetuity for many generations. I'm a new resident of Dover. I moved after living over 35 years in Bedford, but I hail from Long Island, New York, and honestly, they executed many a great park there. So I think this is quite visionary for our area. What I didn't hear, and maybe I missed it because I'm newly acquiring this information, but it seemed that the one building, I don't know if it was B or C, I'm going to call it the art building right on the knuckle of the river, that is rental, those apartments with the flex spaces, correct?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay, and then the one in the back is for purchase? The townhouses are for purchase?
So as of now, C, which the first building you come over and see with the brick facade, kind of the nod to the Washington Mill across the river, that's building C. As you drive around River Street, you get to building D, which is kind of a curved building. So those two buildings are for rent, and currently the townhouses are for rent as well. We're trying to offer a variety of different units and sizes and rents entries. So those are for rent for now. At some point in time, they may be for sale, the townhouses, but not at this moment. Phase 2, which is building F, and sorry, we're not looking at a plan, but building F, which is further down River Street, is what's going to be a for sale condominium building. and we're hoping to break ground on that this fall.
There is no workforce housing whatsoever in the development as a whole?
There's no affordable housing in the development.
None. Okay. And I'm just backing the truck up, but for me, looking at it from the perspective of what we saw, the curved building is going to have the most advantageous views. Is that
So I was just on the site recently. Every building has really good views and unique views. I actually prefer the C building views personally because of you're looking at the old mill buildings, you're looking at downtown, you can see the steeples, you can see the courthouse. So, and you also have the river. On the backside of C, you can see the backside of the river that goes down in curves as well. And D, you have really great views of the river as well. So, what's unique about the site is it's in the city, but it's separated outside of the city. So you're connected by the bridge. So you really have 360-degree views of green, river, city. I find the views are a number.
okay? My one last comment to the landscape architect: put in more pickleball courts.
Hi, I'm Rich Clybourne. I'm the executive director of the Gundalow Company down in Portsmouth. Since I arrived in this area in 2018, I've talked to many people, some of which are in the room here, about bringing the Gundalow up to Dover on a regular basis. And the problem that we have is that there's really no dockage space for us to be there. So I noticed in one of the drawings, there was a dock that looked like it could handle a Gundalow. And there was another I think it was the rendering that only had the quay wall or seawall, but no dock. So is the dock, floating dock or that kind of thing still in the plans, or is it been removed?
You want to take that? Sure.
So the original plans did show the dock, and we had an estimate on some of the costs of that dock. We were alerted prior to January 20th that there were grant funds that may be available at the state and federal level to do that dock. So we withheld the dock from this phase because we are in the process of applying for grants. Part of what we had done in 2017 to 2022 was do some test pits, do some background data for the dock. We need to do some more. And so that is what we're really holding off on, is to do more due diligence to better understand. You and I will definitely be in touch. And we can talk about what would be needed, because it has been a long vision. I think Norm would agree, to have the Gundalow or other sorts of boats travel up and down that are not just personally owned, but more community-based, more group-based.
We love this area, but that'd be great. Thank you.
Good morning. Dennis Shanahan, Deputy Mayor of Dover. Thanks to you folks for taking your time out from probably a slightly busy period in your lives to entertain our questions. As someone who's been watching the development of this over many decades, but particularly the last couple of years, before the buildings came up out of the ground itself came up quite a bit. Could someone describe the climate resilience that's built into the design and what the plan is on dealing with that?
I'll start on this. Yeah, I think I'm going to ask Rob to chime in here. You're right. You have absolutely seen that. I think that the site, or good portion of the site, has been raised by approximately 6 feet than what we have all, if you were over at that site in the early stages. A lot of the park is not actually raised whatsoever. A lot of the park falls into what is designated the flood zone area, and so you cannot go ahead and alter the terrain there. So really, that's not the area of these 29 acres that has been raised, but it's more the private side of things. So I'll kind of ask Rob if you want to comment on that at all.
Yeah, we're very focused on coastal resilience, just flood resilience in general. With all the recent floodings over the last few years, so it's a huge focus of ours. Certainly, all of our financing groups are always looking at that, which was why it was great to be able to piggyback on top of what Quiddick has done in their design, which was bring the whole site up essentially. So I think the flood zone in that area is 8 feet below where we are today, and we were able to do that in a great way of grading and kind of sloping it towards the waterfront so that it looks natural. So we're able to get the benefit of that.
And it also, in regards to the park, that while it is in a flood zone, it's also been designed by the landscape architects to withstand, waters that go up above the current granite toe wall that you see going around the site as well. The plaza area is designed to take that, the granite steps going into the river as well. So there's definitely an acknowledgement. And over the last 2 years since we broke ground there and started work on that granite wall, we've also observed high tides, king tides, all that, just to kind of see what exactly is going on with the river and how it impacts the site. A lot of the above the granite wall, if you're there, you'll see a bunch of what looks like a bunch of sandbags. Those are sandbags. They're actually not sand. They're filled with soil. And coming up this season, they will be filled with plant plugs. The idea is to have a vegetated river's edge there. So not only do you have the granite wall, but you have a very vegetated edge that will prevent erosion in that area and be able to withstand any water that goes over the wall as well.
Hi, Jane Bard from the Children's Museum of New Hampshire. When we moved to Dover in 2008, the city got us very excited about this waterfront project, and that was part of the allure of coming to Dover. So we are incredibly excited to see this happening. Just a couple of logistical questions. One about public access as far as parking. Will there be any public parking on site for the boat launch in the park? And will there be public restrooms in the pavilion?
Yes and yes. So there'll be both on-street parking along River Street, some parallel and head-in, depending on where you are. Right next to the paddle sports dock, there will be some head-in parking that will allow trailers, so someone can bring their canoe and kayak, but then up behind the project, adjacent to McGlarris Park, there'll be a parking lot. We hope it's about 200 spaces. It's still in the design phase, and that would be for more long-term parking, folks that need something more than the typical on-street. On-street will be managed through the parking system that you all know and love throughout downtown, and the parking commission will be working on the hours, et cetera, for that. Regarding the pavilion, yes, there are restrooms that are part of that project.
Hi, my name is Beth Fisher, and I served on the critic for a short period of time. Will there be, I saw in the pavilion design some peeking out of some kayaks, and I don't know if that's planned to have a vendor there that you could rent a kayak, but one of the things I'm interested in is some public storage for kayaks somewhere on the property that people could pay for, maybe through the parking system or whatever, and have a place. So if you don't have the ability to put your kayak or canoe on top of your car and haul it off or whatever, there'd be some space for that. Is that anywhere in the plan?
It is. What you see in the visual of the basement, if you will, of the pavilion building, I think is envisioned as a kayak storage of a vendor that may rent out to people. But at the same time, we've discussed the need or the desire for people to not just bring their kayak down there, but hey, can I store it down there so that way I'm not traveling and, the parking and all that's involved with it each time. So that's a continuing conversation with the city just to figure out how that may work and what that would look like.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, John Hall with Profile Bank and resident of Dover. I'm just curious about egress. Obviously, you're going to have 170 apartments, I think you mentioned, in the first phase, and coming onto Washington Street or formerly River Street. I'm just curious how traffic is going to move.
Well, I wish I had my traffic engineer with me today. But we did some pretty extensive studies early on with the planning board during technical review on traffic and how the flows will be. I think we think the majority will go out over the bridge and kind of disperse, and less so will go down Payne. Is it Payne Street now? Yes. But there is a public report that kind of goes through all the different ideas for traffic and counts for all the different uses.
To add on to Rob's answer, there is a component that is tangential to the waterfront project, more in line with the McGlarus Park redevelopment, which is an adjacent property, where we would take what's really been an informal road, more of a driveway up to McGlarus Park, formerly in the area of the recycling center, and actually formalize that and go through McGlarus as part of Town Lane and bring it out to Henry Law. So multiple options for getting in and out of the site, particularly for those that are trying to visit the site, but also from a public safety aspect. We wanted to make sure that there's a lot of egress opportunity.
He's got the marketing answer. I've got the muted one.
Rob, I'm Dave with Unitil. I know we've met over the years. I remember sitting in a Parade Mall office space with Jeff in Procon many years ago going, "You're going to build what?" And look what that's done. So we've partnered over the years with Eversource, and we've done a lot together. I have a non-utility question. It looked like in phase 3, there might be an opportunity for look like rooftop type open space. I'm thinking more like NVO. Is that potential? I know that's still in a development phase, but is there a potential that there'll be community or dining rooftop in phase 3 that might kind of overlook the river?
So it won't be public up there. That's kind of what we're doing in Building D with more of a private roof area. But we are opening up the ground floor of C to the public. So that whole space is going to be open to the public. We're hoping to host events, maybe even a chamber event in the future. Kind of have people coming in and out of that space.
Any other questions?
Hi, Amy from the Herbal Path. I was just curious about a garden space, whether you were considering having one, Evan, or community rental for the residents.
I mean, I don't have any plans on having one, mostly because I have enough jobs. But it's nothing in the plan for it.
Another question. Evan, do you have a plan on when you're going to announce the name of your restaurant / more details?
Bingo wants to know. There you go. The thought process is like super obvious right now. I mean, why not, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool, you got a good group to say that to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you everything, so sorry. But the name of the place will be called Topolino. In Italian, it means little mouse. It's basically, it's my idea of something that's very special, which again, like, speaks to what this means to me. Its idea is casual Mediterranean, very community-based and whatnot. Again, I mentioned all of our farm networks to literally feed the restaurant. Mixed use seating, good sizable bar, no TV, sorry. That way people can focus on people, and we can get your games on the phone and whatnot. Yeah, community seating, a little bit of lounge area, good mixed use of different space. Really with the idea of inviting anybody and everybody to be able to walk in by yourself, come in with your family, kids. I have kids, they're a little bit older. And I'm really excited to, in comparison to what I have now at Stages, to be able to offer something very different, for me at least. So, yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And could you spell it?
What are the chances? Yeah. Topolino.
Great.
All right. As Margaret said, I'm a stickler for time. We're about 10 minutes out. So are there any last things that the three of you would like to share with this group that maybe hasn't been asked yet? Feel free.
I'll take that opportunity. I am very excited about the project as a whole. As you might imagine, you certainly have a very passionate approach to the park as well. What I'm very excited about the park are the various amounts of amenities that are there, but what you will also see among the amenities will be a more refined urban park, which I believe will also set the bar for future parks here in the city, whether they be a new park or whether it be a renovated park. From everything from the benches to the lighting to the plaza, I think that you'll see it reflects not only what we all know and love about Dover, but also looking towards the future as well and being a little bit more urban there. So I'm very excited about that. Real quickly, because I don't want to take up all the time here, I'd like to highlight something today that, in my opinion, cannot be stated enough. Something that some people may be aware of, but don't know all the background. So some of you here today are learning a little bit more about QUIDIC and our committee and where it all started. And I am actually the third chair of this committee, and I really wanted to bring attention to the people that have led before me, and that's Dana Lynch and Jack Meddy. And they have been incredible mentors and also visionaries regarding this project that has guided our committee in decision-making and the project as a whole throughout the years. And our committee, though, is composed of 12 people. Chris said 15 earlier with the 3 ex officio, but there's 12 residents of Dover with expertise and backgrounds in civil engineering, landscape architecture, environmental science, banking, law, and so on. And it has been a fantastic committee to work with throughout the years. These people are all volunteers. Everything that we have accomplished has been at no cost to the city for anybody's expertise or their time that they continue to donate. And that's just never lost on me, whether it be the sports here in Dover or dads and moms who coach and help out in many ways. It's the volunteerism that is never lost on me. So I want to take a selfish moment here just to say thank you to those who have served and who serve currently to help guide this project and really be able to along with the private developer and the city, be able to work together to create something that we're all proud of in the future. So thank you.
Before I do my closing song and dance, any other last minute? You good?
Thank you guys for coming.
Well, thank you to Chris, Jackie, Rob, Norm, and Evan for their presentations today and their insights. We'd also like to thank Summit Land Development for hosting us in this location. It's hard to find big event space in Dover, so thank you, Cathartis, for keeping that in your mind for future developments. Thank you to our sponsors, Kennebunk Savings Bank, BreezeLine, and of course our underwriter Eversource. And thank you to all of you for coming this morning. We continue to put these programs on because you continue to show up. So thank you, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.